Do you want to like talk a little bit and then test it out and make sure it's good, or
no? I can fix it.
All right, cool.
He's confident
I like it.
in
All
his
right.
abilities.
That's what I like to hear. Okay, I still like the idea of doing a cold open at some point where it's just like us, like talking shit. This is the cold open.
This is the cold
but like
open.
when we actually post it, like have some like random talk beforehand, then hit the intro.
Sure,
I think that'd be good.
You could just do what you're flicking your bick
Well,
to.
we could have done that the entire time.
But now I mentioned it, so it's all fucked up.
I know. I was thinking that
God damn it.
when you were talking about that.
I broke the meta structure.
You did.
We were on the same wavelength though, which I like.
Yeah.
Which is very good. Yeah, arms down. If you want to slap things for emphasis.
Emphasis.
I feel like J. Jonah Jameson. Because I've been
playing
playing so much Spider-Man and him on his podcast. Like, welcome to J. Jonah Jameson. Spider-Man's a menace. What is he doing?
That guy does such a good job.
It's great. It's perfect. It
yeah.
sounds yeah, man. The whole voice acting in the entire game is just next level. Like they've like nailed each part.
Did
like,
you notice that
it's so great.
Spidey has 2 different sets of lines for every line that he does? So he has the voice actor Yuri Lowenthal. They had him voice every single line twice. One where he's just like saying it, and one where it's a little bit more exaggerated, and it switches. Like if he's swinging, it changes to the more exaggerated.
Oh, I noticed that. Like when he's swinging, it sounds like he's like exerting himself, which I was like, oh, that's really cool.
He can say those exact same lines.
All right, Aunt May, I'm on my way, or all right, Aunt May, okay, I'm on my way. Like
he'll say the exact same lines.
That's
when he's
cool.
not, or like when he's fighting, he'll switch over to the tired line. So it's very good attention to detail.
I did notice that, and I was like, wow, that's so cool how they did that.
It's fantastic.
They recorded everything twice. Like, wow, that's because a lot of that game is like the quest will be like because he'll get a call and he'll be like, oh hey, it's Mary Jane, like this weird shit's going on at this warehouse, you should go check it out. And the majority of the time, like you're probably swinging somewhere. So yeah, that's fucking cool. That game keeps blowing my mind. Yeah. Anyway, welcome back, everybody. We are out here. This is the Flick Your Bick Podcast Network with Ben and Nick. We are back at it again. We've had a bit of a brief hiatus. Again, we're both going through some crazy times. I am basically living out of a suitcase and don't currently have a great place to record. So that's kind of what's been holding us back. But we are all here in my parents' basement. Nick is here. Hello, Nick.
Hi.
And also Abby is here.
Hello.
Coming back, Abby, from the beginning of the podcast. Pew, pew, pew. Coming back at him. And we are all here to discuss all sorts of things today. We're back at it. We're very excited to be back on the podcast. It has been a while. Today, we have a very broad topic for you. Music.
Which before we will segue into what have you been flicking your bick to?
I was getting to that, but I'm glad. Thanks for watching me because I have skipped it many times before. So I'm glad.
The magic of editing.
Yes, I have skipped it many times. We've been about 20 minutes in, and I was like, "Oh shit, we didn't do that." So thank you for watching me. I really appreciate that. But first off, guys, what have we been flicking our bicks to this week? We're gonna start with the guests, ladies first, as they say. Abigail, what have you been flicking it to this week?
Goodness. This week, I've kind of been going oldies. Doing some...
How old have you been going?
I've been doing like 50s jazz.
Like chamber music?
That's like good shit.
Jazz.
That's that hot shit.
That's that good shit.
So like Ella Fitzgerald.
Ooh.
That's where I'm at.
For any particular reason, or you
I
like...
was just feeling it this week.
You're feeling like a classy bitch.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, I always feel like a classy
obviously.
bitch.
Especially more now. Okay.
There's a great YouTube channel that you might like. I forget what it's called, but it's like a something jukebox where they take like modern music and then they change it to a different style. Like
really?
Recently, I think
I've seen this. I can't remember what it's called though. Yeah, it's really cool.
Their recent video was Africa in like a 50s jazz style. That was really
so cool.
Some of their older stuff, they had like instead of like a kick drum, they have like a tap dancer instead. It's rocking. They do that to like Drake songs. It's really cool.
Nick, while we are continuing to talk, you should look that up and inform the audience because that is a great. That's a good idea because I have seen their stuff and it's really great.
Hey y'all, it's Nick. I never did say what YouTube channel that was, but I see it right in front of me, and it is called the Postmodern Jukebox. Look them up.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's the idea that you can, like take a set of music and make it sound completely different, and it's still like fundamentally the same is just crazy.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's just like fun.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
It's a good time.
I get it. It's this.
Just
Yeah, no, I get it. No, that's really good. For me, what have I been flicking into this week? Mainly, I'm gonna talk about. I have this new app that I've been looking at constantly.
I have this new. I don't know
It's
why
called
that's
an
really funny.
application on your phone. I sound like my mom, but it's called All Trails. And so, for those who don't know, I am going to be moving to Denver here shortly to the mountains, and there's this app. It's called All Trails, where they have all of the trails that are around you. So it's based on your GPS. They show you all of the. See, check it out. So they have like all of the trails that are around you. See, look. Right here in Iowa, they have all these lame ass trails because this is Iowa.
Isn't this app cool? You can clearly see.
Check it out, guys.
Check out this
look
app.
At my screen.
Look at that trail. That trail's pretty neat.
The audio medium is something else. But yeah, so it shows you all the trails on it that are around you. Within you can like set your parameters like 15 miles away, 20 miles away, and they'll have like a little description, like how long it is, what activities you can do on there, like biking, cross country, skiing, like in the winter, accessibility, like you can have dogs. All that sort of stuff. It has the actual map of the trail, a direction how to get there, and then user reviews of like how it went. And you can obviously read those and check it all out. And it has been a huge advantage for us moving to this area because I know like some of the area because I've like vacationed there and traveled there somewhat, but there's all sorts of stuff that I would have had no idea that it even existed if I didn't have this app. So if you are looking for some outdoorsy activities, I highly recommend checking out All Trails. It's free. I think you can like pay to have some other like extra features. I don't entirely know what those are. I didn't look at it that closely because I don't have any money. But it's great. I highly recommend it. We found an amazing trail that we did in Boulder, and it was a great time. And I would have had no idea that it was there without that. So All Trails has been my jam, and I've been like saving. You can like favorite other ones. So I have like a list of like 20 that I want to do. So I highly recommend All Trails. Nick, what do you got for us?
So, I've been going back to my middle school, high school roots for music. I don't think any of you have really gotten into this genre very much. Maybe Abby, but been getting back into a lot of ska music.
Oh yes,
that for youngsters, that is a type of genre of music. Believe me, that genre is very dead.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist anymore.
That's true. It is very much a period. I didn't really think about that. That's
it very much is. A period
I feel like there are still a couple.
There's some like variations.
Please tell me new ska bands. Please, I'm dying to find new ones. Please.
I feel like it's variations. That like there's some like ska influences. I would say that are still out there, but not like it used to be.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. But no, I've just been listening back to some Real Big Fish albums and Streetlight Manifesto albums.
Oh yeah,
very nice. Yeah. That's a brand of music that always takes me back.
Yeah, it
is ska music, which does not exist anymore.
It will take you back.
It's crazy. It's crazy how music can do that. You listen to it and you remember like exactly where you were, like when you like first heard that song, or like when it was big. And like for me personally, I associate songs with like periods of my life. So
do you do seasons?
I have like to spec Seasons of Love.
No.
525,600 minutes.
No.
What do you mean seasons?
Like certain songs make me think of a season. It's when it came
like
out,
fall or summer.
Yeah.
Like this is a summer jam.
This is a summer song, and I think it's only because I listened to it in the summer.
Yeah, probably, yeah. No, I get that 100%.
For me, rap is in the winter. I don't know why. Rap needs to come in the winter
because it's cold and you're feeling hard. Put your hood up. 8 Mile. Here we go.
No,
I was gonna go. Like, you gotta wrap your presents.
Oh, hey, you make that connection.
God, we're white. This is awful.
I always think of that song. Some nights I'm drawing a blank of who sang it. A 2012 song.
Give me a beat. What do you got?
Some nights are still.
Oh, fun. Some nights are fun.
I always think of our
that's senior year.
Our Colorado trip.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
That was no, I get that
after
for sure.
Our senior year. That's I hear that song and I go back to that trip.
That's awesome. Well, this is a great transition to our topic today. So we, in general, are talking about music, which we've already done, how it's impacted us. I would say I can speak for all of us saying that it's been a very important part of our lives, something that has brought us plenty of joy, brought us together as a group. It has brought us friends, has brought us experiences that we cherish.
Except for Robbie.
Oh, Robbie boy. But anyway, so
you like any music? No, I don't like music.
I don't like music. Watch New Girl. Everybody watch New Girl. That's great.
Later on, he
but later on, he sings
plays a guitar.
like Toto. And,
that doesn't make any
Toto.
sense.
But it's
actually,
so funny.
But...
It's like what music you listen to? He's like, I don't enjoy music.
Like
I'm like, what?
Oh.
That's crazy. So that's actually another great transition to what I was gonna say. Is I feel like everybody enjoys music to some degree.
Yeah.
Like anyone you've ever met, like
anybody can
listens
enjoy
to music, but it's
such a cultural thing.
it is, and it's a generational thing,
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's
sure.
a like social racial thing, like just across like all bounds. Everyone listens to music, but there's such a wide range of what is considered music that it's something that continues to grow and grow. Like stuff that like kids who are like in 6th grade now are listening to. I'm like, what the hell is this? This isn't music. Like I almost feel like an old man, you know? These youths, exactly. So what I want to start with is, hold on, our musical background. So what is our upbringing as far as it comes to music? Like what were we raised on, that sort of thing? Abby, again, I'm going to start with you just because you're to the left, and I like I read like left to right. So yes,
is that how you read?
It is. That's great.
All right, so I come from a very musical family.
Yes, you do.
My dad actually has a music degree.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And they're like the Von Trapps. It's crazy.
Not quite like that. But so yeah, my whole family is musical. I learned how to play piano growing up. Then I joined band and played clarinet for too many years. And I was always in choir. Yeah, it's just all the music all the time. Basically, there was always a radio on in our house at some point.
Right.
Or like, I don't know, CD playing or cassettes when those were a thing.
Cassettes, yeah, big time.
Oh, yeah.
Cassettes are big time. So I have a question for you. I've always wondered. So Abby has this great ability to harmonize to a lot of different things. And it always blows my mind. I wish I could do that. Where did that come from? Was that something that you just picked up through like all your musical education, like choir and band and all that stuff, or was that something you were doing at like a young age, like with the family?
Not like a super young age. Okay. My mom always did it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like singing to the radio, she would always harmonize.
That's so cool.
Or like just anything, and so you just kind of like learn through listening.
Okay.
And then like I went to choir and actually learned.
You learned like so harmonization is like a fifth.
Like sometimes it's a third, sometimes it's fifth. Like you gotta play with it, make it so it's dissonant, and then resolves, and like all of that. And so
okay,
yeah, it's kind of crazy because I always thought that anyone could innately just be musical or at least like keep rhythm. Not so.
No, there's a lot to it.
Me and Ben were in a play Grease.
Oh God!
We had a fellow castmate that, God bless his soul, he could not keep a rhythm.
He tried so hard.
He did, and like you gotta give him props to that. But damn it, man!
Yeah, to some degree, like that's the other interesting thing about music. I was gonna say is that you can learn it. Like it's like a science. If you know anyone who's a music major, like it's insane. Like, the level
there's just so much math.
Of like it's like math essentially. It's like audible math, and you have to like learn how to transpose. All that stuff is insane. But to a certain degree, you have to have just like an innate ability to even just like stay on beat or like even just match a pitch. Like there's people. That's what we try to do with this guy on our show. We'd be like, all right. So they'd like play the piano note. Like, all right, this is in your range. We like figured out what your range is, which was minimum. But we'd hit it and be like, okay, just match this key. You're like, boom, and then he'd be like, I'm like, no,
he could not get it. He could not get it.
Just couldn't. Yeah, which blew my. But
it
really blew my mind.
Yeah,
I was like,
oh my god,
just because we grew up with people who were at least halfway musical, you know, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not like a great singer by any means. I can't harmonize like Abby can. I can't like transpose these things, but I just basically I got through choir just by being able to match pitches. Essentially, I would stand by people who were singing the right part and
just listen
and
to
just
them.
Copy them. Essentially, was my plan. And that was just crazy.
Some people just don't got it.
I don't understand.
Well, it's all your ear. So if you can't hear a difference between.
So was that the problem? He couldn't hear it.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that individual, but oftentimes it's like you have to be able to hear it and then like create that same note with your voice.
It's a weird dissonance.
It takes like control of your voice that he might not have had.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe he could hear it, but he just like physically couldn't make the sound,
Or,
or
like,
he couldn't hear it and was like making the wrong. That's
like,
crazy.
It's just kind of like, well, I want to make this note, and I'm not sure how to make that note.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
people hear things differently. Sometimes you can hear a pitch or a beat that goes faster, and then you come back to like a day later, it sounds slower to you. It just depends on like your mood and just where your mind is at the time.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'll go next. So my musical background, neither of my parents were overly musical as far as like performing or like being musically inclined themselves, but they were just huge music fans. So I grew up around music constantly, and my dad's record player.
As we're sitting in a basement full of records on the
Yeah,
wall.
records on the wall, and our record player actually sitting behind us. So that was a huge influence. I did piano from when I was a kid up to about roughly high school. I was in band in middle school. Did a bunch of shows, like musical theater shows in our community theater. So again, I was just kind of grew up around it. I didn't have like the say classical technical training I think others had per se, but yeah, I always
You can read music though.
to a degree. I definitely could back then. I don't know how I did that. It's been a long time, but I could somewhat read it. Like, okay, that's a C, and I go, oh, C, B, D. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm like very much like rudimentary level as far as it goes with like the technical aspects, but I've always grew up around it and had a huge appreciation for it. Like music has played a super important role in my family's life. We have like songs that we all like connect to based off of like stuff we've gone through or done as a family and stuff. So that
For sure.
that has a huge impact. But technically, I would say I'm less inclined. But no, it's been a huge part of my life. What about you, Nick?
So I'm kind of in the same boat as you. My parents were never they never were big music people. In fact, it wasn't until later in my adult life where I found that my parents actually like music.
Really?
They just never really talked about it. As with any Asian child, I learned the piano. It's either the piano or the violin.
I feel like everybody did though. Like thinking back, like all the people we grew up with, like that was just the thing. Like you did piano when you were a kid.
It's definitely more of an Asian thing than your child.
Yeah, that is true. But then people just like fell off at different ages.
Well, and I like say I was learning piano, but I wasn't.
Did you take like lessons per se?
My mom.
Your mom taught me a little bit for a time.
And
me
so
and my sister.
like yeah, and so when it's your mom, she's like, okay, we'll practice this, and she's not like there with you like for a lesson. She's like, all right, I'm gonna go do laundry, or I'm gonna go do this other thing. And so then it was kind of self-teaching with my mom.
Right. No, your mom taught me and my sister how to play piano for a time. We had a couple different piano instructors. The other than that, me just playing a bunch of video games. Like older games that they have like the audio processing on some of those older consoles, they're not as advanced as they are currently now.
Yeah.
So the beats and the music were simpler.
So a lot of MIDI stuff.
Yeah, a lot of MIDI stuff, a lot of 8-bit stuff. But yeah, I think listening to a lot of that, getting attuned to a lot of that, it's a lot simpler forms of music, and it's very like rudimentary, like this is the beat, this is the rhythm.
It's a good introduction.
No, that's great.
So since they're so rudimentary and simple, I was able to like follow it, and that kind of made me listen to music a lot more, and it helped me understand music flow and construction of music a lot more.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So when did you start doing like choir and like
choir
performing music wise and all that?
In middle school, Mrs. Petty always wanted me to be in choir, but like, no, that's for sissies.
I'm a cool kid.
I'm not doing that. With I think for those classes, I was like with all the other cliched skater kids. So that was kind of.
Oh my gosh, you totally were.
Yeah. Which I wasn't a part of that clique, but I was friends with all those guys. But I was like the only one that tried to sing during the general music class. And then in high school, I got into choir. Never did band. I was going to do band, but on the day that we were supposed to come in to do band, because I think it was over the summer, I wanted to play the tuba as a joke since I was very tiny. I wanted to play the biggest instrument, the heaviest instrument.
That would have been awesome.
I just think I'd look ridiculously silly. I slept in, and that's why I didn't do
Oh
band.
my gosh.
That's why we sleep in, dog. Boom, right there.
That's the only reason why I didn't do band.
That's hilarious. That's so funny. So I want to talk about our musical influences. So stuff that maybe you listen to at a young age that influenced like your tastes or what you were into, or stuff that just had like a big impact on you that kind of shaped your musical like taste and preferences. Might as well just go back to Abby again. We'll keep going down the road here.
Okay.
What do you got for that? So you said that the radio was on all the time as a kid. Like what was on at that time? What were you listening to?
So my parents are very conservative, so some of it was like Christian radio.
I'm talking like as someone who was a sound technician at a church, that was my first job for 4 years. You want to talk a little Chris Tomlin? You want to talk a little Jeremy? What's his name?
It was all there.
You want
was
a little
Camp?
Jeremy Camp? Is that it? I was gonna say. I can't remember the names now, but I know all the songs. Like if you go to any like small town Midwest praise band, I'm there. Like I'm into it. As long as they're not doing anything new, I got to do all the old stuff.
All the old
Our
stuff.
God is an awesome God. You know,
know
that's
Oh
a
my
jam,
gosh,
a jam and a
that
half.
song. Okay.
And, but yeah, Chris Tomlin is like the OG of that, right? Like Casting Crowns, big time.
Sure.
Kind
Yeah.
of a little more rock, kind of getting a little more, contemporary
little more.
Yeah. Okay.
So like that was on, and then like some oldies because my dad always liked listening to oldies.
So
And
here's my thing I always found interesting because my parents would try to do this too. We're like, oh, like we need to, you kids listen to this Christian stuff because it's like good for you. But then we would listen to like Guns N' Roses, and they're talking. My dad's like, yeah, this is good stuff, but they're talking about like sex and like drugs and all this stuff.
Woo!
I guess it was more like innuendos. We didn't really like understand exactly what it was.
my parents are a little bit older than you, so like they didn't really listen
more
to
like
80s. They were listening to more like 70s.
Right, but same thing though. You know what I mean? Like they're like, oh, this old stuff is okay, even though it's talking about like all of the
yeah, for sure.
these things that we're like trying to like protect.
It was
us
out of
from,
both
which
sides.
I didn't understand.
Don't
Like
worry.
thinking back, I'm like, oh, so we'd like, oh, you need to listen to like this Chris Tomlin, like our chains are gone, I've been set free, and then like next song is like, take me down to the paradise. I'm like, wait, what? Like this doesn't make any sense. Like I don't know. I always found that really funny. Sorry I interrupted you.
No, you're
that's
totally
what I
fine.
was,
No, I get
found that weird.
But there was
Yeah.
also like, I remember specifically we're listening to like Beach Boys a lot.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So like really back there.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you said more because your parents are a little older than mine, so more like 70s. Are we talking like?
So let's see. My parents.
What would be in like Beatles, CCR?
No, like my mom loves the Bee Gees.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Classic.
Okay.
So like that
Okay,
that era.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then another big influencer of my music is my older siblings.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a
Since,
huge
like,
thing. Oh, yeah.
they were so much older than me, so like I was young, and
think
they were
they're
like in
cool,
high school,
right,
and they were
yeah.
listening to all this cool music.
Mhm.
So I listen to a lot of like rock, alternative rock, like that stuff I really loved. My brother went through a screamo phase.
Oh no.
Nice.
And so I went
Did
through
that
a
get you?
screamo
Yeah.
phase.
Okay. Can you talk about?
like,
can you talk about your outfits at this time? Like.
no, it didn't affect my outfits at all.
Okay. It didn't. Okay. I wanted
The emo phase.
I wanted emo Abby.
Yeah.
Damn it.
You knew me all during that time.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping maybe I just forgot it. I wanted to remember it again. Damn it. Okay.
No. So I mean, like even now, sometimes I'll like listen to some like Under Oath or something.
Oh, there you go. A little
That's classic.
Evanescence. Yeah.
So like
okay.
ever so often it comes out.
Okay.
But
All right.
so yeah, I
see.
listen a lot of rock. I love alternative rock.
That's a good thing. So I was thinking about that too. Is like what my influences were outside of my parents. It was my cousins who are all like older than me by like 3 or 4 years. So I like weirdly have like the taste of someone who's like a 90s kid because we're like a little older. Like we're a little too young for that.
Well,
but like
93. So
right.
like
Slightly.
we kind of miss that, but all my cousins were older, so I was like listening to their stuff. So I like, have the taste of those people, which is really interesting.
some grunge.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. For them, it was more like alternative-y, kind of punky,
But it's
sort of stuff.
It's good
No,
stuff.
it's good, man.
I still listen
Like
to
Run
it.
DMC kind of stuff?
A little bit, yeah.
But that's the other thing though. That's why I love
Yeah.
90s hip hop so
Oh,
much because
yeah.
that's what
That's the Gucci.
that was how I like learned. What, I had no idea what hip hop was outside of that.
Yeah.
No, that's like all that sort of like I guess I'm trying to think what bands that would be. That would be like Outkast.
Oh yeah.
You said Run DMC, NWA.
Mhm.
like early Dre, like all that stuff is like that's my shit
Did you
because
listen
that's
to
what I
Bone
learned.
Thugs?
Oh yeah, Bone Thugs and
I
Harmony.
love Bone
Hell yeah,
Thugs.
I tried
I
so
freaking
hard.
love Bone Thugs.
And one day you come and rescue me, but until then, yeah, that's be sitting right here with my heat getting dough, as they say. No, I totally get that. Yeah, but so for me, I was raised musically basically by my dad. As we look around here, you see all the albums that we got: Pink Floyd, Tom Petty, Stones, Springsteen, ZZ Top, Seeger, Aerosmith, AC/DC, Fleetwood Mac, REO, Led Zeppelin, The Who, Van Halen. So yeah, essentially that's all I listen to. That's
good.
Exactly. That's like entirely what we were raised on. So it was really interesting. I guess I was just so sheltered at that point.
Do you think
Like
that was all music?
yeah, that's what I thought it was. So going into like 7th grade, we would like hang out at other people's houses and they were like listening to like actual like modern music at the time. And I was like,
current pop.
I was like, wait, so everybody doesn't listen to John Mellencamp? Wait, what? And it was
I was like blindsided by pop music. We were not like allowed to listen to whatever.
Oh yeah,
random
it was
station.
never on. Like
No.
I had no idea.
And so I was like, "What is this?
Yeah,
This is weird."
yeah. So I have a weird affinity for like 7th and like what the music was playing at like our school dances, like 7th and 8th grade.
Like
this is like the first. So we're talking like All American Rejects. We're talking Boys Like Girls. We're talking like T-Pain.
All I can think of is that song Cyclone.
Yes. I'm thinking like T-Pain, Akon, like that was like the first like modern music. I was like, okay, this is what they play at the dances. I want to dance with girls, so I need to know like what's going on.
Okay,
here.
but in middle school, nobody was dancing.
No, you just kind of stood there and like swayed and had like the full arm extended like on the waist. Yeah.
No, I feel like I didn't dance at all in the middle school dances. It was like always running around dealing with other people's dramas.
Oh, that sounds like
that's true too.
Abby was mothering people already at 7th grade. That's sounds about right. But yeah, it was just a crazy like I don't know, like all this like culture like hits you at once because about that time like iPods were a big deal.
Right.
Like, I got my first iPod. There's a little iPod Shuffle one, and it was not the little because you think of an iPod Shuffle.
The MP3.
You're thinking of the little square ones. I had the one. It was long and it had a lanyard attached to it, so you it hung like around.
Well, this was before screens too.
No screens. So it was hung. It hung around my neck. So we'd go and like for basketball, we'd be like warming up, and I would like wear it like around.
Did it have a speaker? Oh
no, and you had your little earphones in on the other side.
That's
of it.
actually pretty dope.
No, it wasn't bad actually. Actually, quite functional even today. But
yeah,
and I would just like warm up to like you know for Aerosmith and everyone was like, "What are you listening to?" And I'm like, "Dude,
don't worry about it.
You don't Dream On? Nobody?
Dream
what?
On.
That's crazy."
But yeah, it was just.
Now everyone would.
Oh yeah, exactly. But I really appreciate it though because a lot of that stuff at that time was like not good. Like it was really, you know. And thinking back, like maybe it's just because I have rose tinted like glasses on because this is what I grew up with. Like, but all that stuff I was listening to at a young age is still great music. Like it's really good. Some of it, like the more like hair band you get, is a little, crazy. You know, a little outdated. But overall, like some of that stuff is still stuff I listen to constantly to this day, and I still find like, even if you look at music, you know, just from an empirical like, hey, this is a good structure of a song. This is, you know, harmonically, this makes sense. Like it's,
I mean, it's
good
probably
stuff.
Better than what was happening.
Yeah, no, it totally was. I was like a weird little hipster kid without knowing it, kind of thing.
You were.
It was really strange.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Nick? What were you kind of talked about video game music and stuff.
Yeah,
what were your musical influences?
Growing up with only girls, pretty much. They listened to a bunch of Christina Aguilera and Cher.
Right.
Which at the time being, you know...
You're like, ew, girls.
Yeah, and I was just super annoyed by just all of it. But now I've come to appreciate and blare Cher.
Do you believe in love after love, Nick? Okay.
You know it.
You hear something inside you say? Okay, good. I'm glad.
But yeah, going back to my video game roots, a lot of those tracks, they don't have vocals or lyrics, which is interesting because I find myself gravitating more towards music that does not have any lyrics or like film scores. love
dude,
listening to
oh my
films.
god,
films.
oh my
I
god,
love that.
that's all I studied too in college.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely, absolutely.
100%.
Well, anything with words, I would start singing along.
Yeah,
So then I
exactly.
wouldn't be able to get anything done.
No one gets mad at me anytime we're listening to music in the car. She's like, "Do you have to sing along with every song?" I'm like,
Yes.
That's the whole point.
If it's a good song,
That's the
I'm
whole
gonna
point.
sing along. If I
Don't
don't
sit
like
here
it,
and listen to it. Like, what is that? That's no fun. You know?
Yeah, but continuing on that note, I found that I've had such an appreciation for just musicians, just not vocalists, but just people that play goddamn instruments.
yes.
It's I don't know, I'm not sure if it's like a dying art. I feel like it's not as, prominent and popular. Like you got those people that, oh yeah, I play guitar, acoustic guitar.
You guys want to hear Wonderwall? Like,
Yeah, exactly. There was always that one fucking guy. One guy plays goddamn guitar.
Yep.
But yeah, I find myself gravitating towards more instrumental music all the time.
No, I totally get that. Man.
Being around that time of growing up, a lot of the games I was playing had a lot of fusion music.
Okay.
Which if I remember correctly, that's a combination of jazz and soul. I believe that's the genre.
Interesting.
Of
That's what it
fusion.
is.
What games specifically stand out to you? It's like, this was my shit.
A lot of Sega games, a lot of old
Okay.
1990s
Gotcha,
Sega games
okay.
had a lot of fusion music in it. So that's definitely why I like jazz, soul, and fusion, that kind of stuff. And just hippy dippy stuff that's just like feel good, and makes you want to go for a run, that kind of shit. But yeah, that's kind of the overarching genre that I like to gravitate towards. But as I grew up older, I was more introduced to John Mellencamp, AC/DC, and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So I expanded.
Kooks.
I wouldn't say I'm like, if you would ask me, name one song that came out of like 2013, I could probably not tell you one.
Yeah.
I'm just
that's
not.
pretty hard.
I just don't listen to
I
new
struggle
music.
with dates in general. I can't remember put what.
It's
What
mostly when I
year
listen
is
to
too,
it.
yeah.
So it
I
could
can
be
say,
like
oh, this-
5 years old when I
yeah,
listen to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just listen to either old stuff or just like indie stuff, and not indie stuff that's like smaller bands necessarily, just like things that people, like one person makes in their home, in their basement. I just listen to their music, which is mostly.
Have you listened to blues at all?
Oh yeah, I listen to blues quite a bit. It's weird. Like every year, I feel like I go through a phase of different genres of music.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I listened for a straight year just like nothing but 1940s music.
Nice.
I freaking loved all that type of music, and then after that, I started listening to just only 50s music for the next year, and then 60s music the next year, just like for like 5 straight years.
That's awesome.
I just like went
That's
up
pretty
in
fun.
Decades. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
What an education though, as far as learning
absolutely.
how things progress and how things are
Yeah,
modernize.
I remember I was painting the store when they were first opening, and there was they're playing some 1940s song. I don't remember what it was, and there was a guy that was like playing it. He's like, "Hey, you know this song? You know what year this came out?" And I'm like, 1943, and like, oh shit, this guy knows this shit. I listen on the radio.
Yes, sir.
So
There you go.
That's so funny.
That's so cool. No, I also credit video games for my appreciation of, like we were saying, like film scores and just
Oh,
orchestral
man.
music in general.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
That's just
I just really appreciated that. Like growing up with movies that had big sweeping scores and games that were the same way, that you totally just appreciate that entire genre. Like it's like things that I would say, like if I had to pick a genre that most emotionally affected me, it would probably be that, because I think
for
about
sure.
like
Sure,
those
yeah.
movies, or like those games,
Well,
like
like,
what's happening
and they
in
just
those.
evoke emotion.
What's the whole
Absolutely,
point? That's what they're
yeah.
going for when
Yeah,
they're writing
and
the piece.
so,
is-
like-
There's no lyrics, so they
No.
need to invoke emotion.
Mhm.
and it's great. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
no, I totally agree. I think that's,
I've been wanting to delve deeper into music from different countries.
It's so fun.
I'm trying to look for a heavy metal or screamo French group. I don't know why. That just sounds like a cool combination that I want to look up.
For some reason, can you imagine
Yeah,
French screaming? It's really
yeah, I don't know. It just sounds really cool. But going way back to what you said earlier about music being like cultural things, if you look at like Indian music, like traditional Indian music, and try to if you watch some like traditional Indian music being played, they have they're just rhythm and beat. How they keep it is way different from Western. Like I was trying to keep rhythm because I was watching a YouTube video of a traditional Indian song, and the guy that was banging on the hand drums, he was being completely still, but I couldn't get the beat because like on every like 10th beat he like moved this way.
It's a completely other.
It's so
like
yeah,
they might
fascinating.
choose like 7/8 time, which
yeah,
would
it's
not be
which we never do.
different.
Yeah.
It's completely different, which is really fascinating.
Yeah.
And
I love listening to other countries' music.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting because you realize. I think I found that the more music you listen to, the more you realize that like nothing is new anymore. You know what I mean? Like everything is at least an homage to something, if not completely like ripped off.
And it might be not like that they were going for that, but
but even accidentally,
they like heard that idea and it stuck in their brain, and then they like made it.
Yeah, no, that's the other thing I find really interesting. Next up, I have how your tastes have changed over time, like stuff that you like used to like but don't like, or like things you appreciate. We kind of covered this already with some of the things, but do you have anything in specifically that
I'm
has
just thinking,
changed or advanced at all?
Yeah. Well, I forgot to mention before, like my dad enjoys listening to country music, and so like not like pop country that is current, but like the old country.
No,
like, you know, because my dad's old. But so it's just like interesting how that has like morphed my ideas, like because I would listen to country every once in a while, but it wasn't like one of my favorite genres, but like now I love listening to like folk music.
Oh yeah.
And like,
which is like pre-country.
Yeah. And like bluegrass was like that's like
bluegrass is awesome.
What it actually like what you think country would actually
be. Yeah.
And so I don't know, that's kind of morphed a little bit, and in some ways like it, I don't know, it kind of like takes over a little bit. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't really listen to like country anymore, but I'll listen to like folk or bluegrass.
Yeah, no, totally. I think that's the interesting thing, how things will shift. Like country's almost become pop.
Yeah,
and
even
like,
rap a little bit too. Some of those country songs put like a rap, they drop a rap.
Country song has a backbeat to it. Like I'm out. I'm sorry. I just don't need that. I'm gonna leave it to like the actual like hip hop rap people to do my backbeats. I don't need my country backbeats.
That's like one genre that I've never really got quite into is like rap and super hip hop.
Really?
And, I don't know. I think I'm just too white to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, man. I'm hit and miss with it. Like, again, I'll sound like a hipster, but most of the modern stuff that comes out, like from rap and stuff, I'm just not into whatsoever. Like, it's just a lot of the trap beat stuff that's popular now. I don't get into it. It doesn't. There's a lot of mumble rap now too, which I don't understand. Yeah, it's like a name for it. So it's like really
just mumbling.
Kind of, but it's like really like kind of chill, like, and they like don't like enunciate essentially. Like I don't know how to describe it.
They kind of garble all their words.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's hard
to.
Yeah, I just can't get into it.
Not a fan.
Well, I know some of it is very musical, but I like never really quite get into it because it wasn't always super musical.
Right.
Like
that makes sense.
I want a melody.
Yeah, no, I get that. But I can totally appreciate though. Like I think. And I don't want to hate on like all modern music. I think Kendrick Lamar right now is like one of the most incredible like musical performers I've ever heard. Like he's unbelievable. I mean, he won a freaking Pulitzer. Yes, for like for his music,
for his lyrics,
his lyrics and stuff.
Yeah.
He's incredible. And there is modern stuff now that's like still top,
there
top
is still
notch.
good.
I don't want to sound like a douche, but yeah, I think that's important. But again, like how we were talking about how tastes have changed. I'm kind of with Abby. Really, I almost have regressed where I want like really simple.
Yeah.
Like give me like a 3-part harmony with an acoustic guitar, and I am
so
happy. Like that's all I want. You know, like I've almost gotten
a good harmony.
Yeah, give me like a good harmony, like good 3-part harmony with like an acoustic, and maybe throw a violin in there
or bass,
and we're off to the races. You know what I mean? Like that. I just want almost like simpler, cleaner stuff. I think maybe that's just because music has kind of gone the opposite way, where there's a whole bunch of like electronic, like synth sounds and stuff. That I just really appreciate that more. I don't know, but that's kind of how my tastes have changed recently. Is how I just kind of want things to just be cleaner, simpler, more pure in that way. I think that's been the biggest trend I've seen in like what I listen to, in the last couple of years. Is just more going towards that. What about you, Nick?
For me personally, I'd say that, going from simple music to going to frick going to 1940s music. That's a pretty drastic change.
That's awesome.
The one thing that I can't help but smile every single time I think about it. Being in the Midwest, you go to any of these small town stores, and what's gonna be playing on the over speakers? Country music. So there's a lot of hate for country music, which I can kind of understand. I was definitely of that group that I didn't really understand or get country music that much. Then I started working at Newman's Thriftway, which they only played country music and 80s and 90s rock, which I always loved it when they played the 80s and 90s rock. I didn't really like the country music that much, and it was a lot of the... At that time, it was considered the new country music, but at that time when I was working, they were playing, like, 2002 country music.
Oh, really?
I'm down with that shit. That's good. Yeah.
I mean,
like early Kenny Chesney.
That stuff.
Hell yeah, that's good.
Which I've grown to love. But the reason why I've grown to actually like that type of country music is I started off working like, I freaking hate this shit because I have to listen to music. So I went through a phase of like, I hate this. Then this sucks. I still hate this. It's not so bad. I'm getting used to it. Alright, I kind of dig this. I love country music. Then back to, oh, this is super annoying. I hate this. Oh, yeah. Then back to, I love it. Hate it. Love it. Hate it. Now I'm flipped right now currently too. I love it right now. Yeah. We'll see how long it takes for me to start hating it
and
again.
There's some really good stuff out there. Like Zach Brown Band, I think is one of the better bands going in any genre right now. They're incredible. And yeah, I think
they're good.
You can find quality in almost any genre if you really
want
look for it and and find the right
if you're
stuff.
Open to it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a lot of it. Like the reason you came around to it is because you didn't really have a choice.
You're subjected to that.
You're subjected to it, and that kind of I think that's super interesting too. To close it out here, I want to talk about just favorites of all time. Like we're going big picture stuff that
it's so hard.
Will like forever be like stuff that not necessarily is like this is the best like technically or this is the most successful music I listened to, like just stuff that like impacted you specifically, or just the stuff that is like has a lasting impact on you as a musician, as just a listener of music, just overall. And anyone have anything that jumps out to them right away?
I feel like I need to
Abby,
scroll through my Spotify.
Abby's scrolling through her Spotify right now for inspiration.
I'll go then.
Nick's got some.
Yeah, there was an old I think it was can't remember if it was on the Saturn or the Dreamcast, but there's an old really bad Sonic game where they played the soundtrack for that game actually had lyrics, but it was definitely probably where I got my influence from fusion music, a bunch of jazz and soul music. But it that entire soundtrack for that game is very uplifting, very happy, very campy. I'd even put an emphasis that it sounds very gay. Like, it's just so goddamn happy. Like, the first song is Can You Feel the Sunshine? Does it brighten up your day? And I don't know why, but when I listen to that, I just feel so happy, and if I have a bad day, I just pop that on, and, I'm doing, like, jazz hands and everything. It is a great time. So that kind of, like, fusion's kind of, like, my main thing that I'll always appreciate and love.
Oh, for sure.
That's awesome. For me, growing up, for whatever reason, it was the music of John Mellencamp that hit me the most, just because I think my dad loved it, and I always kind of correlated it to just like growing up in a small town in the Midwest, like going back to my family's like family farm, like it just felt like that, like what he like sang about his lyric stuff like matched like what like the vibe and like what people in those sort of towns were going through. So him in general, anytime I hear anything Mellencamp, it like just automatically brings me back. So I think that's part of it. I would also say the thing that for musical stuff. So I saw the musical Wicked when I was pretty young, and that like opened my eyes to like, oh my god, like musical, because I was in musicals, like, and I liked that stuff beforehand, obviously, but that just like kind of blew me away as like this is just like next level like theatrical musical stuff. So like
for me, yours Avenue Q.
See, well, there you go. That works.
Newsies all the way.
Those are your Newsies for sure. That was your vibe. Yeah.
I see this Mr. Pulitzer.
Oh yeah, that's good. But for Wicked, I mean, like define. I always come back to at the end of Defying Gravity when she's
Oh
like
my
she's
gosh.
lifted up on the.
That like hurts my throat because I'm
those
such
notes
an alto.
are incredible.
And
Oh,
I'm
you can't,
like,
yeah, that shit's up there. Yeah.
oh my gosh, I just want to hit that.
Yeah, and I can't do it. I can't do it. Yeah, but
I can hit it, but it's not
just
hitting.
how that act ends, the first act of Wicked, how it ends, where she's up there and she hits that big note at the end. It's just everything else is blacked out, but just the spotlight of her like up in the air on the broom, and then it's just boom, curtains. I'm just like, I remember when I saw that, I was like, yo, this is next level right now. Yeah, that had a crazy like impact on me. And I was like, yeah, musical theater is the shit. But then I would say growing up, there's like some hymns and stuff from growing up in the church that impact me. Like "Will the Circle Be Unbroken" is probably my favorite song of all time. I just think lyrically and how it can be a fast, like upbeat song, can also be like a really somber,
really
low key
love
song.
some hymns.
If you think, I know Nick's played this in BioShock Infinite.
Yeah, that's a great
when they
rendition.
play. They do two different versions of it. One at the beginning, it's like a choral
choir
rendition that is like just absolutely beautiful and like angelic, and then later it's like an acoustic version.
Yeah, the acoustic version is really
just as
good.
powerful. And I was like, wow, that's the same song, but it's completely different.
Yeah,
but it's the same song. That was a big thing for me. Those are the stuff that just pops in my head. What about you, Evan?
For me, it's so hard. There's so many like music is so good for me. But I gotta say one of my like all time favorites will always be my favorite is the band Anne Berlin.
Yeah,
and
Kristen love them.
And I feel like not many people know them who are like our age. Like Kristen and I went to a concert once, and we were like the youngest people there.
Really?
And it was like all like 30-somethings there. Because I mean they were in their prime in the early 2000s. But like those songs, man, they'll get me every time. But it's like a alternative rock. Yeah. I don't know. It's like so hard because I feel like if I think about different genres, different people come to mind.
Right.
And so I can't just be like, this one thing is the thing that is like ultimate best. And that's why I suck at picking favorites of anything.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I don't know. That's probably one of my all times.
There you go. Yeah, I think that it's interesting how we grew up in the same area and we have relatively the same experiences as far as growing up, but we are like music tastes like all over the place. And I think that's really interesting.
It's such a personal thing.
It really is.
I feel like
it's almost like weird, like sharing that, like what I was saying.
No, it's one of my favorite.
I was like that
things
was
to
that was weirdly personal. I don't know if I wanted to share that.
I feel
actually,
so vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. No, for real, it's
like
wild.
Any relationship that I've ever had, I like gain music from them.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and so like
you've absorbed them.
Hot.
So like I would like even if it wasn't like dating this guy or I was just like talking to him or something, and I would like we would talk about our favorite music or whatever, and then I would start listening to it, and then I'd be like, oh shit, this is really good. And then like that wouldn't work out obviously, but I would still continue listening to it, and like every single time I've like gained music.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing we could talk about. Is music you've gained from people, and like you think about like them when you hear the song. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts from anybody on the overall general topic of music?
Music's dope.
Music's pretty good, guys.
Music is dope.
There's something for everybody out there, you know.
It's something for everyone.
It really is. Yeah.
Don't be a Robbie.
Don't be a Robbie. There you go. The thing that I always find funny is like I try to show my parents like modern music, and they're just like so against. Like, no, everything's terrible now. But I actually like have my dad like love some of these bands that I like now, and I always find it interesting that quality stuff can like ring out through generations, like through
I feel like
prejudices against like new stuff.
One time I like got in the car of my dad's car or something and turned on, and the radio was on like 94.1.
So those who don't know, it's like the like most like poppy like top 10, like top 50 radio station.
Like the only songs that play are songs that have music videos.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great way to describe that.
And I was like, Dad, why are you listening to this? He didn't seem like we would like it. He's like, I like the beat. Like, you're not listening to anything else. You just like the beat.
Picturing your dad jam to like some backbeats is maybe the funniest thing.
Yeah, that's a good mental image for me.
That's exactly how I want to end the podcast. Dude.
You're welcome.
That's amazing. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us here on the on another comeback edition of the Flick Your Bake podcast here on the Flick Your Bake podcast network with Ben and Nick and also Abby. We'll be back to you here. We're going to record a bunch of different episodes today, so we're going to have some stuff in the queue ready to go, having them back. And I'm also looking up, I've gotten pretty close to being able to get the podcast on some other platforms, iTunes, oh God, what's the other big one? Spotify's tough. I'm trying on them.
Really?
It's a little, they like listen to it and like judge it and like make sure.
Really?
Yeah, it's
That's
not
cool.
It's not super easy. SoundCloud was the other easy one I was thinking of. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm working on that. So I'll have some other options for you guys. But as always, if you have any feedback, talk to us. We really appreciate that. The couple of you that we do not know personally that have somehow in some way found this show and have watched it, you guys are awesome. That's so cool. It blows my mind that people do that. So I really appreciate that. Please reach out to us and let us know that you're listening because it's really cool. But until next time, guys, peace out.
Bye-bye.
I am so warm.
I know, it's hot when you turn on the fan.
I hope you leave that I am so warm on.
I'm so warm.